Welcome to Offbeat Frontiers, presented by KMFA Classical 89.5 Austin. Offbeat Frontiers brings you conversations with creators pushing the boundaries of the new music and indie classical art scene of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Jess Griggs. We're here in Southeast Austin at Radio East off of Montopolis Drive. Today we're joined by Julie Fiore of 1 Ounce Opera and Chris Prosser of Tetractys New Music to discuss the Here Be Monsters Music Festival happening later in May, along with a general discussion about the ATX art scene. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Let's say somebody was walking by Radio East and they stumbled into Here Be Monsters. What would they see and what would they hear? How would you explain it to them?
Well, they would hear what we're calling, I guess, indie classical music.
Okay.
Which I think is sort of music that comes from the classical tradition, but that is sort of influenced by more modern styles like pop or jazz or just whatever the artist is sort of soaked up in their sort of path as a...
I hope that they would hear things that sound familiar, but also some sounds that sound unfamiliar as well.
Okay.
And if they're curious and would like an adventure, it's definitely something that we would like for them to come and share with us. So
yeah, absolutely. And we were joking before the cameras were rolling. Can you guys name all 20 groups that are on the bill this year?
All right.
I believe in you.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right. So there is 1 Ounce Opera and Tetractys New Music.
Yes.
There is Austin Unconducted, Density 512, Inversion Ensemble, Panoramic Voices, Highway Lights, Golden Hornet, Kraken Quartet, Invoke, Vamp, Lola,
Studio A.
Studio A. This is not for any other reason except there's just a lot.
So that's a very massive bill. That's 20 folks. And I think it's a lovely mix of, I don't want to say like old Austin indie classical, but it's like some folks like Highway Lights and Line Upon Line who were really getting the scene going about a decade or so ago. And like some newer folks. How did you all choose the bill? How did you all choose the artists that were going to play this year?
Yeah, so we basically put out a call to everyone that we know.
Okay.
Because we've been around for, almost 10 years. And so, and you guys too, 1 Ounce, right? You've been around for a long time.
Since 2012.
Yeah. And so we kind of want to find out what everyone sounds like all together in one place. And so if you want to do this, you can do it. Anyone who wants to do it can do it. You get 20 minutes, and let's figure out what we sound like together.
That's a really cool collaborative effort. And I know there's been a lot of support that has been given to these groups. So I know there's going to be quite a few premieres that are happening this year specifically.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that kind of build up and how that happened as well?
The premieres, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Are there more, is the percentage of premieres, is it more this year than it was in year one?
Yeah, year one we had 11, now we have 12. Just as as an organization with Tetractys, it's always been a part of our mission to commission new works from composers. And so we wanted to make sure that every Here Be Monsters has many new works by local Austin composers.
And I want to say that for the groups that didn't actually commission something for Here Be Monsters, that their programming is also completely new music, it's maybe something that's been in their catalog for a little bit that they would like to come out or like to bring out and kind of show to an audience again. And so in that regard, it really is all like new music.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting.
Yeah, and why is that like important to the festival and the mission of the festival?
We love new stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I mean,
No, it's
bring on
great.
the-
Yeah.
We love the old stuff too. That's
Yeah.
kind of how we all got into what we're doing, right?
No, totally.
But for us, just hearing something for the first time is very exciting,
Yeah.
and it always has been. And so it's just something that we want to cultivate.
I think the excitement of it, it just kind of feels very Austin.
I just feel very Austin, yeah.
And like it's like we've taken a little bit from from like the live music history of the city
Yeah.
and the things that happen in the clubs, the clubs in the rock venues downtown. We're
Yeah.
just doing our own flavor of it. Every time there's like something new that's put out, it's almost like we're releasing like a new album or
Yeah.
something else that people can then like absorb. And it is I feel like it's this idea of like cloaking the unfamiliar with the familiar. So there's sounds and instrumentations that may be familiar, but what's happening when it's all put together is something that's brand new.
Yeah.
And so I like the challenge of new music too. As a performer, I like the challenge of new music. As
Yeah.
a director, I like the challenge of new music. And the fact that you're creating the performance practice of it, like for the first time. Yeah, I find that exciting, and I've found that audiences also find that exciting. So.
So we're here at Radio East, which is where
Yeah.
the festival is going to take place. But I know 1 Ounce Opera also has that tradition of doing opera in unexpected places. Do you find that the venue or the place that you're performing informs that performance practice for y'all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's on both like a conscious and subconscious level for the performers and like from a director's perspective. And from the audience's perspective.
Totally.
So it's kind of that immersive experience.
And you're also supporting, living composers, right?
Yeah.
Which we think is really important. And performers as well. I mean, performers play older music and they get to work with the composer. The audience gets to know the composer. They can speak about the music. And
Yeah.
for me, and as an audience member, I've always loved that. Hearing from the composer, directly from the person
Yeah.
who wrote the piece, right before it's performed. So.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really special in Austin because a lot of the composers that have been commissioned for the festival are also playing on the festival. They're doing that kind of
are, yeah.
dual. Because I know like Sophie Matua is commissioned. I think Ken Gorder with his group, and he's playing as well. So you see a lot of that crossover.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's unique to Austin.
Kind of feels like it. I mean, anecdotally, it feels like it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
The full title is Here Be Monsters. Can you talk about the inspiration of the title for the festival and why you think it fits the Austin indie classical scene?
Yeah. So let me answer that question with a question to you.
Go off.
Do you ever look at old European maps?
I do. Yes, sometimes.
You do?
At 1 a.m. when I have an insomnia fit, yes.
You're the only one who's ever said yes to that question. All right. Okay, great. So you probably know. So this is where it comes from.
Yeah.
When you have old European maps, and when there are undiscovered areas, right? Sometimes people will write, "Here be monsters" or "Here
Yep.
be dragons" or something like that. So it kind of fits with we're talking about Austin's music scene. Okay. We know what's going on in New York. We know what's going on for the most part, right, in these bigger cultural centers, LA, Chicago. But people don't really know what's happening in Austin.
Yeah.
So we thought it was a good label, right? Because there's a cool scene here, right?
Yeah.
Stuff's happening. And so we thought it was very appropriate to say that this is Here Be Monsters. People don't know, but it's actually a really exciting place for new music. So.
Yeah, I guess over the last couple years or last decade plus some change that y'all have been creating with your organizations, that kind of having Austin as that sleeper of new indie classical music, has that changed? Has that coverage changed? Has the scene changed?
I feel like the scene has changed.
Yeah.
And throwing the the pandemic in there because it did. It changed a lot of things. I feel like a lot of the groups that were around in 2016, 17, 18, a lot of them are still here. Like their members have maybe changed. People have definitely moved out. They've also moved in.
Yeah.
And of course, then students have graduated from UT, Texas State, Concordia, Southwestern. And so it does feel like there's this interesting influx that has happened post-pandemic. And I'll say that it also feels like with KMFA having this incredible center for us to be able to gather and to share music and to see each other's concerts, I feel like the ecosystem has changed as well, where there's a lot of cross-pollination.
There is,
And in fact, so much so that we're having to play Tetris with the program to make sure that certain people aren't in every single set. So it's like from that perspective, I feel like there's this cool feeling of like share and share alike.
Yeah.
And like where profile of my group is being raised, so the profile of your group is being raised as well. There's a lot of sharing of social posts and of like coming to each other's events and concerts and cheering loudly. I find it really exciting. It feels nice and warm. So this event then celebrates all of that.
Yeah. What do you hope to accomplish with Here Be Monsters this year and maybe for years to come?
It's an exercise in placemaking.
Yeah.
And an event that brings us together to help us figure out like who we are.
Yeah.
You know, who are we as a community? We don't have to be like anyone else. We're not going to be like anyone else, and we should, you know. And then what that means for the future of that ecosystem or the community itself.
Yeah.
You know, as our audiences then see each other at each other's events, does that create even more sense of like connection and belongingness? And then, like again, does that raise all ships? It is a conscious decision.
Yeah.
A lot of times to not go and pursue a career in one of the big cities. I hope that continues.
Yeah.
As a city grows and as we grow as a community, I hope it's really something that draws people here. Mm-hmm. I would love to, I wish I would have like surveyed people years ago on this and then continued to do that because I'd be really curious to see like the reasons why people do choose to be here or stay or
like what are the factors that help folks stay here? What are the financial factors or creative factors?
Yeah,
I think the big thing is just, you know, what do we all sound like together? That's for me is the most exciting thing, or one of the most exciting things. What do we sound like as specific ensembles? What is the scene? You know, what's the oral output of the scene? Yeah. What are the composers? What kind of music are the composers writing? Yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been like the main driver.
Yeah. Do you find that your personal philosophies about art making have informed the way that you're going about producing this festival or planning for this festival?
I've always tried to center the audience in decisions that are made and think about what is their overall experience going to be? What are they going to take from this? Yeah. What's going to end up being meaningful? What memory are they going to still have, 2, 3, 4 years from now? Yeah. That helps me decide a lot of things, like where to have performances, what to choose for the repertoire, how many performances to do, what to offer before and after, all of that. So I feel like when it comes to Here Be Monsters, and piecing together all of these groups, it is like, what kind of adventure are we taking the audience on? Yeah. Like, both sonically and then moving them back and forth between two stages. Yes, we have 2 stages. Like keeping it exciting and engaging. At the same time that there are moments when you can absolutely just kind of cue in, sit down, and just let it be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Julie, creeping on your bio and looking online, you have a lot of like a lot of your bios say like disruptor, like arts, disruptor of the current like status quo, basically. How does that factor in to 1 Ounce Opera, to building Here Be Monsters, to the Austin art scene, or what you're hoping to accomplish? I know that's like a massive question, but
no. It's interesting. I was just thinking as Chris was talking about like when you were in school here at UT, and then thinking about like the beginning of 1 Ounce.
Yeah.
And when I started, there were some people who actually told me I was crazy. So
Really?
Our very first auditions were on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
I got messages saying, "Is this a joke?" And I thought, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And so, when 1 Ounce had their very first show, it was in a heavy metal club downtown, and we were sandwiched in between a thrash metal group and a burlesque act.
I love that.
I loved it too, and
Yeah.
it fit.
Yeah.
And so, it was disruptive. Like, we were using opera as like the vehicle for I say opera's a vehicle for dynamic storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's really like that's kind of the ethos that has kept it going.
Yeah.
And what I feel like is is where opera is the most, where it becomes important. And I think how it was important, back for Puccini and Verdi and Mozart, we just have to make it important for us now and tell stories that mean something to us now. So in that way, I guess the disruptive part of it is to question, yes, those great artists are important. Their work is important. Those operas are important. But there are people creating now.
Yeah.
And there are people singing now who were left out of those conversations. Demographically, historically underrepresented.
Yeah.
And so trying to do what I can in my small capacity and use the overall feeling of the openness of Austin and the character of Austin to try to change the way that opera is seen. Just kind of baseline.
Yeah.
Like your normal guy who's going to walk in here with a backwards baseball cap. Like, what is he going to think when he hears the word opera? Yeah, I don't know if it's, I don't know how successful certain things have been, but that's not really, it's more about the risk taking too.
Totally. Yeah.
And just kind of seeing where it goes.
Yeah. The experimentation of it.
Being open and just listening.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's about all you can do.
Yeah.
And it has to start somewhere.
It has to start somewhere, yeah.
And I had a great community of people around me who were really willing and wanted to be here. So it goes back to that conversation of, I didn't want to live in New York. I had kind of tried some of that, and it didn't fit. I had a love affair with the city, and I wanted to find a way to stay here.
Chris, why did you stay in Austin?
I recently moved back to Austin. So
Okay.
I graduated in 2017, and I started teaching at UT San Antonio and did that for about 2.5 years. And I got a teaching job at this music school in China, which was this great opportunity. And, and
That's cool.
But this was December of 2019, so worst time, right?
Yeah.
So it was a 3-year gig. I moved home. I thought I was going to be for a couple of months, and then ended up being about 2 years. They let me teach online for a year, and then had to let me go. So I kind of bounced around doing different things, and then I just was getting really sort of worn out of that, moving a lot, and so I just thought, I really loved Austin.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends here, good community. Tetractys is still a thing. And it wouldn't be starting over again,
Yeah.
And so I moved back November 2022, and it's been the best decision I've made, I think, in a long time. And
Well, as the rain picks up, cut out that one. It is beautiful. We were joking, it has like a really cool like lo-fi vibe going on. Yeah,
I know. It's like I have noise app on.
Last couple kind of questions. Is there anything that you want the audience today to know about Here Be Monsters, or anything that you want them to know about 1 Ounce, Tetractys, anything like that?
I'd say for Here Be Monsters, it's a light lift for the audience.
Yeah.
It is truly an experience where you can just show up
Yeah.
and just be here. You're not really asked to do anything special. You can clap when you want to clap. You can yell when you want to yell. You can laugh when you want to laugh. You can go get a drink whenever you want to, too.
Yeah.
You can stand, you can sit, you can walk around, you can sit on the ground. I mean, make yourself comfortable and just come share 2 evenings of things that you may never hear again and things that you definitely have not heard before. And share in this like awesome community of really creative, cool people.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Saturday, May 25th, Sunday, May 26th, 2-day festival. Come on out. We'd love to see as many people as possible. This place is huge, right?
There's plenty of room.
Plenty of room.
Many,
There's a jungle gym for kids.
Yes.
Like there will be two cowboy pools.
Yeah.
One right here behind us, and then one on the other side of the cameras.
Heck yeah.
Just in case you want to dip your toes in.
That's right.
So
Swimwear, I guess.
Bring swimwear. Yeah.
If that's appropriate.
I think that's the first classical indie concert I've ever heard that's like bring your swimwear.
Yes.
So there you
Right.
go. That's cool.
Right.
That's a vibe. Is there anything, if you can disclose, are there any premieres that you're specifically looking forward to?
So the one out set this year, we have 3 composers, Graham Yates, Ben Tibbetts, and then Carol Brown, who might also be premiering her own piece.
Okay.
Singing 3 arias that were lost.
Interesting.
So one is a lost aria from Brunhilde, Wagner's Brunhilde.
Okay.
One is from Puccini's Musetta from Bohème, and then one is from the Queen of the Night, because how can you have like a lost aria from anyone else except the Queen of the Night?
There you go.
We just want to hear from her. So,
And to clarify, it's like an extended universe of like lost arias from
Right.
those characters. Okay.
They woke up the next morning.
Okay. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think Michael Zapruder's writing a new piece for 2 violins and electronics. I think that'll be really exciting. 2 of the Invoke guys are playing. And then Kraken Quartet is writing all new music, I think, for the show. And those guys, they really throw down, so always looking forward to hearing from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's, 8 or 9 more new pieces.
Yeah.
We've got some projections going on in some groups.
Okay.
Some interesting instrumentation that will be interesting to. Again, Tetris.
Yes.
It's Tetris.
Tetris.
It's the best game of Tetris ever.
It's gonna happen.
Thank you guys so much for your time here today. And thank you so much for tuning into episode 2 of Offbeat Frontiers, talking about Here Be Monsters with Julie Fiore and Chris Prosser. If you want to come see or get tickets for Here Be Monsters, that is on Saturday, May 25th and May 26th. Come out, dip in the pool, bring your swimwear, grab a drink, and that website, is that up on Tetractys website? Does Here Be?
Yeah, you can find it on tetractysnewmusic.com.
Okay.
Tetractys is tricky to spell, but it's Tetractys.
Yeah, look into the camera and spell it for us.
Tetryc. See, I can't even spell it. Tetractys. Newmusic.com.
There you go. You can also go to kmfa.org/events and look up Here Be Monsters, and I think we have a hyperlink
You
do.
do.
to that right now. You can go grab tickets like that if you don't want to look up Tetractys, but you should look up Tetractys.
You should.
Yes.
You should.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you all for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.